Hello dear friends. It's a glorious Saturday here, but it's going to be a busy one. I've got a lot of things to do, and on top of that we are moving, not very far, but still nevertheless it takes the same amount of time to move wherever you are. So I thought I'd show you just a quick idea that I had, which would probably be a lovely gift that you could make ahead of time. I bought a gorgeous soap the other day, which was a cotton flower soap. So it's one of these large bars, 260 grams or 1.9 ounces, and it really smells absolutely gorgeous, and so does the wrapping. But when I looked at this wrapping, I just thought to myself, how beautiful is that? Let's see if I can make something with it. So my idea is to make just a small little notebook, just like that, and be able to fill it with some lovely pages and things and make it as a gift for someone. So I've taken out a selection of different kinds of papers which I have just had lying around, and I'll just show you through as I go through them what they are. I had done some bookmarks at one stage, and I had some of these with coffee stains, so I'm going to probably use those. I'm going to put them, let me move it all over a little bit, and then I'll make two piles, make it a bit easier to see. Right, so I'm probably going to use some of that scripture in there because it'll probably be for one of my friends at church. Then this was paper that I had sponged and splattered. It was just a large A1 sheet, I think, of blue card, but I like the colors of that. So that's definitely coming in there somewhere. And this was just a yellow piece of card which I had hand decorated. So I'm sure I'm going to be able to use that. Then I had just this nice firm piece of card, which I think possibly I could use and cover with one of these kind of papers, so that would make a nice little tag of some sort. I pulled out this feather, but looking at it, it's too dark because it's really black. I don't have a lot of time to mess around with decorating it or subduing the colors because a lot of my inks and things are packed away, so that's going to go to one side. I had these just little notepads that I have where I do my scribbles, and I've got that which has got quite nice colouring, so I think I'm going to pop that in. I pulled out this, which was a bit of paste grain paper that I'd made and used for other things, but for me it's too yellow, so that's going to one side. I quite like this neutral colour. This is a piece of scrapbooking paper, so I'm going to put that one side. And then this is another piece of scrapbooking paper which really ties in beautifully with these darker colors of the cotton buds, so I'm going to use that. The music paper, I think not, and this one I think not, the pattern is just too busy. I've got this splattered paper that I did, but I think this is a little bit pink for what I want. And then I have some of this tea stained graph paper which I quite like. It's almost the same size as that, so that's probably a good fit. This is just almost like a deli paper. It's waxed, but it's got some little bits of printing on it. I think I might stamp on there and then use some of that. It's a bit like a vellum in a way because it subdues things. This was a piece of paper that I had where I had just pressed flowers, and the moisture from the flowers has left that impression, so I probably won't use the whole page but just use part of it. And here's another one of those, so that's on that pile. This I think I could use as well because it would tie up with some of these pinky colors that are right in the center of the flowers here. If you have a close look, you can see that they're quite pink there, so that would actually be rather nice. I wouldn't use all of this coffee stain paper, but maybe a section. And I think this one's a no because it's quite busy, and that one's a no. Graph paper maybe, and I pulled this out because I thought maybe I need just a pop of color, so I could possibly use this if I tear some out. So I'm going to head off now and just cut some papers down to size and tear some down to size, and then I'll come back to you. Well, I've cut my papers down to size, and I'm kind of at the stage where I'm getting ready to assemble my little booklet. So let me show you what I've done. I've taken my nice soap paper and I've backed it with some graph paper that has just got a vague patina to it because I just felt that it needed a bit of substance to it, just to give it a bit of body. And then I've cut down all of these papers. When I tore off strips of some of the other papers, I've just put them in where I felt a little pop of color would be good, because I don't want to put too much in this notebook. Quite a lot of my friends don't like really busy junk journals, so I thought I'd give them lots of journaling space rather than decorate it too much. So basically that's what the little book list is like. With each of these pages I've taken my walnut stain distress ink and I've just inked the edges. And for you, those of you that are perhaps new to junk journaling, by taking an ink color like this and just edging it, it's going to just tie all the pages together, because you've got one color that's going right throughout your book. But the other thing that it does is it gets rid of that little white edge, and as a result it draws your eye inward to the center of the page, rather than having that fluffy white edge that we have when we have either cut paper or torn paper. So it is a very useful tool. You'll see that I'm just rubbing my ink pad along the edge. I'm not using a blending tool at this stage because I don't want too much of the dark color on my pages, and because both pages will be visible from both sides, I'm actually just flipping it over and doing the reverse side as well. So I've inked around all of my pages that I've already currently got in the book, and we'll get to the stage now where we start to stitch it together. For stitching together, I'm just going to use some lovely double-sided satin ribbon and a nice big needle, and it's going to be a very simple stitching together. So that's all our pages. Now the next process that you're going to need to do is to line all your pages up so that they're pretty centered, because you don't want to find suddenly that you've got something that's off-centered. Where the pages are the same height, that's quite easy. You just can feel that. Line them up nicely like that. But because my book, I've got a couple of colors in the pages that I want to have that are slightly shorter paper sizes, those little scrapbook pages specifically, I'm just going to have to line each page up separately. And that's also quite a nice way to make sure that they fit snugly into your book and that they are all aligned, otherwise it can be difficult. Now I'm going to open up the center page, and I'm really just wanting to have two holes. So I've got a hat pin here, which is something that I've had for zonks, but I'm just gently, if I imagine my center line here, I'm going to just push through to the back over there, and then roughly the same size away from the center line, or the same distance, I'm going to do that. So now I've got a little place for my needle to go. I'm going to use a needle that's got quite a nice large eye, which is a tapestry needle. And I have these two color satin ribbons, and I think I'm going to go with the darker one. So because I've got a lovely large eye, this will thread up quite easily. I'm going to take one and a bit of this. Sorry, I've got scissors that I use for paper, which are just cheap and nasty ones, and I've got other scissors which I use for fabric. So I'm now going to take my large-eyed needle, just pull my ribbon through to the back. You might need to give it a bit of a tug, and then find my hole that I've made here and push through to the other side. You could, of course, start in the center and push through from the center outwards and have the tie on the outside. In fact, maybe I'll do that. I think it'll be quite nice to have the ribbon on the outside and have this flat on the inside. So let's do that this way. Before I pull my ribbon through too taut, I'm just going to make sure that it's lying flat, because I can control it at this stage. Get that to lie nice and flat. Right, so now I've got two little tails here, which I can tie together. And I'm not really good at bows, but well, let's have a go. One of the things I always wanted to do in my life was to make a doll's house to scale. I don't know, it just fascinated me. but I just realized that my fingers don't work very well with small things, and I don't know why, because I'm actually quite good with my hands, but tiny fiddly things just can't do it. And back in South Africa I had a friend who was a maxillofacial surgeon, and he could do the most delicate work, but I can't do this now. He could do this most delicate work on surgery and stuff, and even when he was building things, because he worked on his aeroplane, he would be able to do this very, very delicate work. And he had hands that were just almost the size of a leg of lamb, and I just used to sit and marvel that he could do that delicate stuff. And here you can see me struggling just to do a little bow. Aha, got the tail through. Right, so it's not too tight, because I want to be able to know that if I'm adding in things here that I've got something. I quite like the fact that that's now on the outside. So let's move the ribbon and scissors and things out the way. The next thing I did was to take some of this paper that I had mottled, and I stuck that little piece of card onto that just to give it a little bit of structure. And I'm just going to trim this off like that. And I thought I could use this on the front of my book, which is this side, in some way, because I want to get this verse of scripture on here, the joy of the Lord is my strength. So I think the first thing I'll do is I'll just ink this. And it's actually quite interesting, because when I came to cut with my little guillotine, the blade was obviously a bit blunt, so I've got these fluffy edges, but because the wrapping is of cotton pods, I actually quite liked it, so I've just left it. Amazing how things work out. So I've inked that. I'm going to ink around this one here. Oops, I had a bit of a filming blips, and for some reason that's unknown to me, my camera just cut out. But what I did was mount this little verse of scripture onto that piece of card that I'd backed the paper onto, and I've just stuck it onto the side. So I'll just show you now what the little booklet looks like, and I must say that I'm really chuffed with it. So I've got my little verse of scripture there, got my different pages, and as I said, I'm keeping it simple so people can use it as a notebook, or they could add their own little bits and bobs in. Love that just sort of fairly neutral palette that it is here, and the contrast between the different papers. So just starting with something as simple as a soap wrapper, I'm really chuffed that I've been able to make this lovely little notebook, and that will go to somebody when the time is right. Thank you for joining me today. It's been lovely to have you in my company. If you've enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Bye for now.